YouTube, Brian Phillips. We're gonna open a new box today. It's huge. And I think I know what this one is, but we're gonna cut it open and find out together. So welcome to Brian Phillips RC. We unbox them, we build them, we set them up on the radio system and show you exactly step by step how to do it. Full disclosure, this is an early sample and it was used for product testing. So if there's anything weird, we'll mention it if we notice it. And I think you guys are gonna be happy about this one because it's been a long time coming. Oh yes, it's the T6 Texan. This one is re-released. I don't know what SNJ-5 means. AT-6 Texan in an all-new livery and of course upgraded with all the latest and greatest technology from Horizon Hobby. And this one here is made by E-flite. So super excited for it. We do have a little bit of damage on the box. Again, that might be symptomatic of our early sample. Might be symptomatic of the FedEx or UPS guy dropping it. So 304S compatible. Easier to fly with AS2X Plus and optional use telemetry. It's got the smart technology stuff in it, so it should be relatively straightforward build. It is 1,450 millimeters, but they're calling it a 1.5. So just to be clear, it is 57 inches, and this is going to fly on what type of battery? It's got a 70 amp Aviation Smart Light. Sometimes the smart light ones let us do thrust reverse, sometimes they don't. Just depends, but we don't have to waste a pluggable channel because the Aviation setup, if it is available, okay? So we're gonna do our best to get you guys set up so you can take advantage of all the channels. You know what, I'm gonna open this end because it might be a little easier to open. Okay, so if you're brand new to Brian Phillips RC, this is our process is we unbox them, we build them, we do the radio setup, and then that way you guys can follow along. If you're brand new to the hobby or you're just returning to the hobby, we're gonna try to help get you in the air, okay? Our goal and our aim is to get you flying as soon as possible. And yes, we did do the last AT-6. In fact, I still have it. It's still intact and it still flies, but it's been discontinued for some time. And so many of you have asked about that over the years. Occasionally, E-flite will re-release some of these subject matters. Of course, the AT-6 being a very cool plane. And of course, we're honored and privileged to be bringing you these planes on an early release basis. So if you have questions, leave them in the comments below. Obviously, if you don't like what you see here and you want to see a different plane, we have tons and tons of content on brianphillipsrc.com. It'll help you sort through the thousands of videos that we have already in the can and published, ready for you to evaluate for your purchase decisions. And when you do make a purchase decision, make sure you follow the links in the video description or over on brianphillipsrc.com. Also, brianphillipsrc.com is bprc.me is our short link, same place, just you don't have to type as many letters. Okay, so we're gonna get this thing out. Now, full disclosure, this is, like I said, a PSOT sample. Ours is number 3 for what it's worth.
Okay.
So that means there might be some that's maybe not perfectly exactly the same packaging as you guys might see. So pretty simple stuff there. We do have an instruction manual here, which is always nice. Some of the competitive offerings that we review. And by the way, we do them all, okay? So it's not just E-flite, not just Horizon, but we do a lot of Horizon stuff, okay? And I am quite partial to Spectrum equipment, okay? So we've got this, and there's like a little registration card thing in there. So one of the best parts of an E-flite model is right there in my wife's hands. She's my camera crew, and she's very good at what she does. Okay, so we have the tail feathers. The last time I got an AT-6, they sent me 2 lefts or 2 rights. I don't remember which side it was, but let's hope that doesn't happen today. They are bagged, which is a little bit unusual.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know that I can remember a time when Horizon product was bagged like that.
No.
A lot of the competitors do it, but they usually just do foam to protect the foam from the foam. Okay, so here's the wing. If you guys didn't already know this, AT-6 has a large split flap that comes down only, okay, and it goes all the way across the length of the aircraft. It's a really good flying plane. I love the high visibility. I'm not sure I'm partial to this over the gray or silver and blue, that used to be, but we do have some nice, soft, and squishy tires. This should be a pretty easy, quick build, a singular flap servo, which is kind of nice to see once in a while. And that's gonna move all the way down the length.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you can see it's got a quick disconnect here, and we'll just make sure that all this crap stays in the position it's supposed to be in when we get ready to sandwich the wing onto the fuselage. Of course, when we do these builds, we show every step exhaustively because we want you guys to not have a bunch of question marks, okay? Because at the end of the day, we want to remove question marks, and where it is for Brian Phillips RC is fixed wing, scale aircraft, general aviation, warbirds, all that stuff. I love it all. And definitely that is my bread and butter is fixed wing. Obviously we have this huge helicopter over here. We've been adding more helicopters to the repertoire of late, but airplanes are where I got my start here on YouTube. But I actually was flying helicopters before I did anything on YouTube. So very cool, just not very good at it. I don't know if flying is the right word.
Tried.
Very beautiful. Love this. There is the prop. It is a 12-8-5. That's a different size than I remember, and it's a little bit more slender on that. Looks like the cowl is kind of a muted flat plastic. Not sure how I feel about that yet, but very good match to the colors here. So the reds match perfectly back here. You can see jigged and painted tail. I can't tell if they jigged and painted the actual plastic wing inserts, but should be a nice and easy build. The pilot looks like he may be suffering from a small eye disorder, but that's okay, we'll forgive him. At the end of the day, these warbirds are some of the best airplanes you could get, and just feel how light that is. The foam is strong, there's like nothing to it. You're gonna have to actually put your hand where you can hold it up if you wanna see how heavy it is. Very good. But the fuse is not very heavy. The wing has a little bit more weight to it because it's got so much going on. It is a big wing, as you can see from the fuse compared to the length of the wing, okay? So that's all the pieces that are inside this packaging. And you may notice that their piece count on this plane is about 100 times less than the last plane we did. And that's because when you buy a Horizon plane that is bind and fly, meaning it comes with all the stuff you need with the exception of the Spectrum transmitter and a battery of your choosing, okay? Just so they can be compliant with remote ID rules, okay? That allows for a very smooth and seamless transaction. But it's also nice because I don't have to spend hours doing what I assume they did in China building it, okay?
Right.
So we're just gonna throw that out there. It doesn't necessarily make or break a model for us, but because we built so many of them, it does kind of annoy us.
We like,
We like them to be built by the factory rather than having to do all the work. Now, I'm not saying that you couldn't have a little bit more build because there are some Horizon models that have a little bit more involved build, but look at the piece count. 1, 2, let's even count these. 3, 4, 5, 6, if you include that separately.
Yep.
And then just some spare parts and stuff, okay? That is an incredibly low piece count. Even if you count the manual, you're talking about a piece count that is lower than what we had in terms of bolt packs.
Yeah, I was gonna say we put more Vortex generators on the last thing we did.
So that being said, it is awesome and refreshing to see a plane that is gonna go together. And by the way, one of the best reasons to start with a plane from Horizon is because they go together and then they generally are very consistently good flyers, okay? That doesn't mean that there aren't other brands that make good flyers, but we just have a really good experience with the E-flite lineup. And that's why occasionally you might see a very small premium on price, but generally they're about the same price, okay? I think on this one, it's gonna be right in the sweet spot, okay? So that being said, let's get this thing built. And it's gonna take like minutes, okay? The best type of unbox build radio setup.
Minutes for you, it's amazing.
Minutes for Brian, yep. Okay, so we got one of the wings. Now keep in mind, ours has already been installed, so there's a little bit of wear and tear and squishing on the internal portions. That is an internal hinge. It is not a pinch hinge, which we see a lot. And by the way, the last plane we did that was not, it was a competitive brand, they had a pinch hinge on a big servo. I couldn't believe it. That being said, or on a big control surface, okay? Pinch hinges are okay on small wings. In fact, it probably would have been okay on this, but they went ahead and upped the ante by just using a nice hidden hinge, okay? Hidden hinges are better. Now, here's an example of a pinch hinge. This aileron, which is a redundant control surface, there's 2 of them. So even if this ripped off, which would be terrible for the aerodynamic effects of an airplane, you would have some roll authority left. By the way, I don't know that I've ever had an aileron rip off. I've had aileron pinch hinges break, but usually because of crashes. So, yeah. As you can see, very bright, very vivid colors. Should be a really easy build. I might get a plane stand and we'll come right back. All right, so we have a 4000 optional 4000 4S, and then the recommended 3200 4S is a 50C. You should be able to do it with 30C. Just wanted to show you real quick. The charging procedure is so easy on a Gen 2 Smart Pack. This is an S2200. Plug it in and rock and roll, okay? It literally remembers what the settings are that you've set and goes to town, okay? Now I can go over to channel 1, which is charging this one. If you want to go back a little bit so they can see this one. So channel 1 is charging already at 6.8 amps, so I must have that set pretty fast to charge. And then this channel 2 is charging again pretty fast, so 6.8 amps. Now, if you don't want to spend as much as this, you could get an S155. These are all smart chargers, and they will do the smart things, especially up to 4S on the S155. So you can see, even if you have an IC5, which there's only a few batteries equipped with an IC5 that are 4S, they do exist. Plug that in, and if you don't even want to hook up your balance lead, you can just press start to do it. I'm going to go ahead and plug in the balance lead so that it's easy. That's a Gen 1 pack because it does boast the balance lead. Gen 2 packs don't even need the balance lead because the balancing circuit is more robust, okay? And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about with a balancing circuit, this is a smart circuit that came out of a sacrificial, I don't know if I crashed the plane or what happened, but it's been a while since I pulled this out. This is the little circuit that actually rides in there, and it manages the battery cells, okay? So the balance lead, if it exists, is hooked up in parallel to the main discharge and the main discharge, and then each of the cells respectively are in series, hence in this case 3S, 3 cells in series, not 3 cells as in 3C. C is another descriptor on the batteries, and we can go into that on a more detailed video at some point, but this is such an easy build. I want to make this thing short for once. Release mechanism. Pop this off. Got a little bit of give on that, but they have a reinforcement in the center, so when you grab, you can actually hit it, but you can also grab back here, but it's just not wanting to let go. Not sure what I'm doing wrong. Oh, just a magnet. Really strong magnet. So super light. Okay, and then we have an AR631 Plus that's in here. You can see this product sample or test number 3. Okay, that's what that stands for. And then this is an IC3. And then this is a programming cable that we don't need to plug into. But if it doesn't let us set up the thrust reverse, you can use that to help program. And look at the guides for the guide rods, for these long push rods rather, that go through the fuse and go out to the elevator or the rudder respectively. Also, the internal mount is very basic and very simple for the steerable tail wheel, which is incidentally the same foam material that the mains are made out of. And all it does is it goes past and swings a lever arm. So really simple, non-retractable landing gear, which is what I want. I want something that's consistent, that's reliable, and that works, okay? Oh, there's the mechanism. I didn't spend any time showing you, but it's very smooth, very easy to operate. I've got some lightning and cooling holes, mostly for cooling. And what I need to do is I need to put this horizontal stabilizer on first, but my plane stand is adjusted for a much larger plane. So if you guys have never bought one of these Robart plane stands, one of the things you can do is lubricate these with like baby powder, and then you can slide your shaft in there and double it up. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and get that adjusted, lay this down so that I can reach real super easy, and then we'll go ahead. Oh, it looks like I need to mount it from the top because I can't get to the screw holes if I do it upside down. I don't know why I thought I'd need to do it upside down. So there is going to be something that holds these on, and it's right there. Here is this, and then there's a handful of screws. There's a handful of screws that are gonna hold the wings on, but this is the wing spar. So the wing spar needs to pass through, and you can kind of tell where that goes if you just pass it in the wing and then pass the wing into the pocket, because it's gonna basically make it really obvious where everything goes, okay? And then if in doubt, you can slide that out. Now that you know where it's gonna go, kind of take it to the middle position and then reinsert. Now keep in mind, ours is a PSOT sample, so this slides in super smooth. Yours might take a little bit of wriggling, to steal a word from Bear Grylls. You may have to wriggle it to get it in that opening. Also, you'll notice this passes through and bites the other side of the elevator, okay? So when your elevator actuates, one side actuates both sides, hence only one control rod going from the front to the back. Now, we need not three screws, but we need 2 of the 3 screws in this one bag. That's gonna hold the stabilizers on. And so we're just gonna grab our screwdriver holder thing. These screwdrivers are nice. If you guys ever need supplies, or like plane stands, China glue, CA, whatever it happens to be, CA being super glue, check out the links in Brian Phillips RC/supplies. It's very easy to find. Right at the top, there should be one link that says supplies. Go there and just scroll through the list. It's all the most common stuff that we use all the time. And actually, it is sometimes a pain in the neck to find that stuff. Sometimes it's pretty easy to find stuff because some of the CAs are sold at millions of different sources, but we will source the stuff that we like and the stuff that we like and use on video. Now, that doesn't mean you have to use the stuff we like, and it doesn't mean you certainly don't have to buy those things from the links, but if you do, it helps support us financially with small commissions that come from the different vendors, and they just know that we sent you that direction, and so they send us a percentage basis on that. That's the way the commission system works with most of these vendors, okay? In return, what we do is we try to train an audience of viewers how to do step-by-step process in long format tutorial videos about all types of aircraft, whether it be an aircraft like this, that's a 1.5 meter warbird, or it be something, an ultra micro plane, or even a balsa wood plane that's even bigger than this, airliners, helicopters, quads, VTOLs, all sorts of stuff you don't know, a VTOL, vertical takeoff or landing vehicle. Just tons of different vehicles. We've been doing it for years, and I love doing it. I love this stuff, and we're building an aerodrome. If you're brand new to Brian Phillips RC, if you don't know what that means, just look at an example like Triple Tree Aerodrome. Obviously, that is a huge aerodrome. It's like 400 plus acres. Ours is gonna be like 24 acres, okay? So it's much smaller, and it's less sophisticated, less everything. But it's still awesome because we want a full-scale strip here. And so if you guys like seeing that sort of content, then you're in the right place. And if you're just here to learn how to put this plane together, that's also cool too. And we will help you through the process. So just turning this around, you can see this is a really easy build because I barely even have to talk about it as I go through. It is so dang easy. And I can tell you this is gonna be a 10-second install. Basically, you flip this over, and all I wanna do is make sure that these wires fall into this pocket. Check.
Okay.
See, this pocket,
Yes.
okay? It's very simple. This goes on straight. It doesn't like key in like many other wings. And that's because there's 4 contact points and we have pins that have to line up. They lined up really good, okay? Admittedly, sometimes the first alignment is not as smooth as that. So if you guys don't have a product sample like I do, then it is probably going to be maybe 1 millisecond more effort. You might have to wriggle it a little bit, again, to talk like I'm Bear Grylls. So, all right, so we've got those batteries in, or batteries, what am I talking about? The screws in there, the big machine screws. Did I talk about the machine screws, guys? Look, there's 2 bags of screws, and these are the machine screws, or machine bolts rather, that are gonna hold the wing on. They do give you 1 spare. So I don't know if you wanna call that like what, 13, 14 millimeters. And they are Phillips. One complaint right now, and will forever and into all time, I will complain if we use Phillips screws when we could be using hex-driven hardware. That being said, this is why. I am a professional industrial technician. I work on industrial scales, and so I know how to run a screwdriver, and yet it is still difficult to drive a Phillips screw in a blind hole, especially when you have foam to press against. Hence, it would be better, see, I've used my hands to reach under and press against the bottom so that I can get enough purchase on there, okay? I also want to point out something. If that was a hex drive, it would not have that problem because I could turn it to my heart's content and it would be fine, okay? So when you think you're done, you may or may not be done, but you see that foam coming together? There it is, okay? Same thing here. Watch the foam pucker. That's how you know you're all the way tight. Now remember, you don't have to tighten this like it's holding a wing onto an airplane. Oh wait, you do. But just remember, there's 4 of them, and this thing is held together by a number of different apparatus. You don't even have to put a wing spar in this. It comes
That's crazy.
almost built.
Yeah.
That is so awesome.
We've had like ready to fly planes that took more
That
assembly
took
than that.
longer. Yeah, exactly. So at the end of the day, we love planes that are easy to build because it means it's going to be more likely that you'll enjoy it quicker. Okay, now they probably suggest tape here, but I could be mistaken. Let's look at the instructions quick. Okay, you barely need the instructions. Barely need the instructions. Barely need 75 to 90 millimeters back for the leading edge. Well, now what the heck? Why did they give us those stickies?
You skipped the wing page, but I didn't see tape.
I didn't see it.
Secure
Secure the horizontal stabilizer in place using the included 2 millimeters by 10. Okay, well,
I don't see it.
evidently they don't use this anymore. There are some planes that required tape for the tail, namely the Crescendo. Remember?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Okay, so bind plug, we don't need a bind plug in this application, just put it in there. And they did give us a couple of spare, where did the other little, there, they fell out. They gave us some spares of these,
Yep, there were 5 of those.
okay?
Do we need those?
They're already on there,
Okay.
more than likely. So those, I'm just gonna stick back in the bag. And this is just fuel tube, and that's used to go over the clevises on the control horns. And then that helps us to make sure that they won't let go of the controls on the elevator and rudder, okay? So those things, of course, can be lengthened or shortened on both ends of the output. The first end, of course, is on the inside of the plane. You can only adjust that coarsely by adjusting this position on the splines. I would recommend that. But then over here, and some planes you actually have a coarse and fine adjustment up front and in the back. So in this case, this one, see, this one is already hooked up. You don't have to mess with it. And then this one, we're gonna go to which hole. How do you know? See, you just pull that open, slide it in, snap it shut. There's no snap, and that's why they give you spares. This thing then goes over the top, and it goes back most of the way. I like to leave a little gap so it doesn't create any sort of binding when you move the elevator. Now, they do suggest on the elevator that you go to the outside most hole, and I can tell you this plane will porpoise badly if you try to make more additional output. And the stabilizer may get a little bit overly aggressive, and we'll talk about that later. But we want to fly this plane today. We've got some wind coming, and I want to get this thing in the air because I am excited to share it with you. Here on Brian Phillips RC, we show the entire process, and that entire process was minutes. Now we need to get into radio setup. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, radio setup can't be that bad. Listen, if you're brand new to the hobby, radio setup can take hours on some planes. Just depends on the plane. Now, note that my gear are gonna clear because they come out like this. Just pay attention to that. Also, I know that my prop is gonna clear just in case by some freak chance it would start, okay? If it does, I'll show you how to keep yourself safe as we bind. We're gonna be using an NX10. This NX10 is about run out for us because we are technically out of model memory. Spectrum Airwear allows for 250 models. We have cheated and we have close to like 350. I don't know exactly how we got away with that, but we did. I think it's because we were importing models from NX6, NX8, NX8, and now finally the NX10. So in our case, we've never really had a problem, okay? So my wife kindly went in and found a model that we had used and set up to help somebody, and we didn't really need it, so she just eliminated it and moved it to the bottom of the list. So cancel and back takes you to the bottom of the list. You'll notice it says 253. Don't let that surprise you. You'll notice that if I hit back and click, Scroll all the way down to System Setup, disconnect RF, Model Select. There's no Add New Model.
Right.
Okay? That's what happens when you run out of model memory. Okay? It's not that there's not enough memory. I have a 1 gigabyte or 1 terabyte hard drive in here, so I could put tons on the external hard drive. But Spectrum Airwear slows down quite a bit when you get up to the 250 model memory, just so you know. And that may be noticeable when you're watching our videos, okay? We are incidentally about to open our NX8. That's right, going down to the NX8. I don't need the NX10 because I don't need the sliders and I don't need the Hall effects sensors, but they have been so good, the Hall effects gimbals. It is a great transmitter. We've had great success with it, and I'm gonna continue to have great success. Okay, this battery is just tapering off. This battery is just tapering off. 1216 milliamps got forced into this one, and this one had 1137 milliamps forced into it. So I'm gonna grab this one, and this one's still cooking. That's the 4000, okay? So we're just, for grins and giggles, we're gonna go ahead, and by the way, if you ever pick off a freshly charged battery and it's warm right here, it's because that little circuit is balancing the cells as it's charging, okay? So, first thing we're gonna do is, you're probably thinking to yourself, we have to build a model. That is true, but a lot of times you can pull it straight out of the airplane, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go to Model Select, make sure I choose this one, okay? We're gonna choose it. Model Type, I'm gonna choose an acro, that's gonna reset it. It's gonna reset the data, okay? Model name, this is where I type it in. It says 153, so I'm just gonna go ahead and change that to 253. And then this is gonna say AT-6, and we'll scroll and come right back. All right, so I called it the AT-6 Texan 1.5 meter V2. Okay, so I'll hit back. Aircraft type, what we need to do is set this to a single aileron and a single flap with a normal tail. And that's just because of the way that these planes work. And then this one, I think we have a Warbird, but I don't know if we have a Texan. I'm sure we have, the P-47 is probably the closest match. I don't think they have a Texan in here. Yeah, it looks like we're gonna do, yeah, we'll just do the P-47, okay? Those are just the standard image files. You can put more in there if you want. F mode setup, so this one's gonna be one where I'm gonna set it to switch D, and that's gonna be spoken, this one's gonna be AS3X. So I'm gonna cancel, and then I'm gonna scroll in AS3X, which is actually AS3X Plus, but I'm just putting it down so I know what is actually running. So artificial stabilization, 3-axis is what this stands for. And that's basically going to give you stabilizer to help resist environmental impact. It's not gonna automatically level the plane, but it is the basis for the auto leveling. So we'll scroll and come right back. Okay, so here we are. So there's safe, and there's AS3X, okay. And then this one's gonna be either off or nothing, so I'm gonna hit cancel to clear it. And then I'm gonna type the word off, so that's just gonna be like stabilizer off. Now we can't always do that on bind and flies without resetting the actual receiver, but just so you know, this is the way I always do this. And if you always do this, and you truly always do this, you can. This is a label that's going to print on the display, and this is the audio event that's going to be tied to the switch change, okay? So this one's going to be safe, so we'll come right back. Okay, so we've got safe for the audio event, and then this cancel. We're going to type the word safe, sensor assisted flight envelope. Now keep in mind, this is where the plane will have an angle limit as well as auto leveling, okay? The basis for safe is artificial 3-axis stabilization, AS3X, okay? And they do both work at the same time. There's a channel assign. We're probably gonna have to come back to this at some point, just because usually we have to. At some point I'm gonna clear these off so they don't beep all the time. But I'm gonna use one of these channels. They're unpluggables, meaning it's over the standard 6 channels that comes on the AR631. And yes, there are actually 20 channels on this transmitter, even though it's called an NX10, okay? But also that receiver has more than 6 channels available, even though it's got 6 pluggable. So I'll use this one to go to switch G, just in case we have thrust reverse. It'll be ready and already set. And then rotary knob is tied to aux 8, so that'll be like our master gain if we need it, which we probably won't, okay, because it's a bind and fly. okay? And then it looks like aux 7 is switch B. I'm gonna disassociate that because I'll use switch B for flaps in my application. Switch A on gear is totally fine. Okay, so walking out, some of that might need to change, but we're ready to basically bind as soon as we get dual rates set up. Okay, so I'm gonna go up here, switch F. I want 5% expo, then I want 10, then I want 20. Now, if you guys are brand new to Brian Phillips RC, you probably don't realize this is a highly subjective matter. You don't have to copy this, but this is the way I like to do it, and I like to tie up one switch only, because if you got enough time to switch 3 switches while you're flying, just spend some time and fly the plane, okay? There are people that use all 27 switches or whatever it is that they have, even if they get up to the IX20, there's a million switches. I just am not one of those people. I don't have time or wherewithal to switch 400 switches while I'm flying. I want to fly the plane, okay? And that's why I tie these things together, because let's be frank, if you need to make that big of an adjustment, then you're going to adjust it. You can land and you can make your big adjustment. But this gets you, whoops, this gets you in the ballpark, and I'll explain here in about 10 seconds, okay? So this is my low rates here, which gives you the most expo, so it softens the sticks the most. This gives you a middle ground, so it's just 10% expo, and this gives you half of that. So it's a halving or a doubling, okay? But we like to start in the middle, okay? Very good. And then I just copy that for roll, pitch, and yaw, AKA the elevator, rudder, and ailerons, okay? Then throttle cut, you want to turn that on. Switch H is back here. You can look, of course, this thing is, I do not know why it does that. We'll go back to the, see this? Look at this. Why do they have that? It's so goofy. Okay, so you can see throttle down here is at -100, regardless of the stick condition. The throttle is obviously right here. And I'm gonna hit back so the throttle cut. When it's off, you can see it spring to life. As soon as it's on, it goes to -100, which is good. That's a good safety setup. So now that we have that done, we can get ready to bind. There will be a little bit more work here in a minute because we got to check the direction of the gear. I want the gear up and the gear down. Also, I want to be in AS3X. Not that really matters, but we're going to do that as a precautionary measure. I told you earlier I would protect you from cutting yourself. I can't really do that. So if you're concerned, take this nut off. You put a screwdriver through, you brace the prop, and then turn the screwdriver. It will unnut. But I'm going to go ahead and go with, you guys are big boys and girls. You can figure that out. Now, look at this compared to that. Show them a close-up. Is that going to hold on to the battery? Just tell them.
No.
Okay, thank you. Why is it not going to hold on to the battery, camera crew?
Well, you don't have the other half of the Velcro.
That's right, and I don't care because I wouldn't use it anyway, technically. I have millions of pieces of Velcro, and I'm going to put some shelf liner in here right now. This is a means to an end. You don't have to do this, but this is definitely a smart thing to do, okay? So I'm going to take a piece of Velcro, make sure I get the correct opposite side.
Yep.
Looks like that is the sticky side, and this is the soft side, okay? So I don't need one that big, so I'm gonna go with this one's this is the hard side. Here, we can look at this, see if this goes. So that's what's in there. This what should be stuck to our, yep, that works pretty darn tootin'. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna roll out my shelf liner and just demonstrate this real quick. This slides and slips and slides, and then you put it on shelf liner. And yes, it will slip and slide if you're not careful, but once you get a little pressure on it, it's gonna be golden, okay? So I take this hook and loop, this is the soft side in this case, and I'm gonna lay it down here. I would lay it on the other end, except we don't have quite enough length. And this is literally all I have to do. It's so simple. And this is gonna go in here and act as the other half of the equation to hold my battery intact. We'll pause while we clean up. All right, so now we can stick the battery in the hole. And you're probably wondering, you never tested the CG, Brian. That's true. We're gonna do that next, okay? So 3200 4S fits very easily. Take these straps, pull it tight. There you go. Take this strap, pull it through the loop. It's a little bit challenging because it's tight next to your index finger. They've got a little reinforcement tape here to protect this edge and keep that intact, which is really nice. And guys, you remember how I told you, we just did that shelf liner. Why? Because look, that battery doesn't shift at all, okay? I don't need no shifty battery. Okay, all right, now, we're ready to bind this plane. I told you I'd try to keep you safe. 2 ways, take off the prop or secure the plane with prop clearing the plane stand. I am gonna go with I trust it, I'm ready to bind. I've got my knobs and switches in the correct positions. Throttle cut is on, not that it matters because it's not gonna matter until this initiates. Plugging this in, holding the plane. Now look, I have to press this button right here. It's gonna automatically force that into bind. Now look, bind. Okay, turning it level. Okay, very good. Ah, look, it didn't prompt us.
It didn't.
It didn't. So, what I was asking my camera crew, I said it didn't prompt us because it didn't prompt us to automatically, there it did, it did. I am gonna skip this today. Why? Because we're like 90% done. If you just confirm, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So, you can actually pull the application from there into here and it's fine. And I highly recommend it on a helicopter, but not necessarily an airplane. No less a simple airplane, okay? Gear, that's up, that's down. Looks very good, nice gear door, but I wanna switch my direction of travel. So clicking servo setup, travel, sub-trim reverse, go to, what the heck, gear. There it is. Okay. So now the gear are up, very good. And then I wanna go in here to flap system and make an assignment to switch B. Now that it's on Bravo, I can go over here and this is where we're gonna refer to the manual. Camera crew, help me. Obviously the throttle has not kicked in yet, which is good. That means that we don't have to worry about getting hit by a prop, but I do wanna show you one detail. What
Here's flap system. Position 0 is 100%.
Okay, so look, 100% up.
Yes.
Okay.
And then position 1 is 0.
Okay.
Position 2 is negative 100.
Negative 100?
Yes.
And speed 2?
2 seconds. And then they do have elevator compensation.
What is it?
Position 1 is 3%. And position 2 is 6%.
Okay, so that's a little unusual, so I'm glad we copied.
Okay.
All right, now let's look at how that works. So I'm just gonna walk out of the menu, throttle cuts on, but we're gonna test this now. Holding the plane, moving the throttle stick, no throttle started. That's good. Throttle cuts off, moving the throttle, it does work. Throttle cuts on. Moving my G switch, throttle cuts off, forward, reverse, nothing, okay? So throttle cuts on, now scroll all the way to the right. Nice, we got telemetry. Yep, so this only works at the beginning. So we're gonna test flaps real quick. Now that we know that everything is technically working, we can show you how the flaps look. Beautiful. Takeoff flaps, now landing flaps. Absolutely gorgeous. Okay, out of the flaps all together. Check the gear come out. Beautiful, simple, spring steel, nothing fancy, the way I like it. Looks like they come off of a C-47.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. Except they actually work. The last C-47 we had was not a very good brand. Okay, all right, so unplugging the battery, plugging it back in. Okay. Looking at this, throttle cuts on. Waiting for the boot, elevator up, left aileron. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, very good. So fixed wing, brake disabled, normal, proportional, reverse, brake force. I don't know, I'll do like 2. See how I'm doing it with the stick? That's all you do because this is serial control. So it's on channel 7. We set it to channel 9. There's channel 9. Exit was save. We set switch G to channel 9. Exit was save. Now it's going to reboot only the ESC. Okay. Now we can scroll back over here. We don't care about what's going on there. It doesn't matter. Clear the timer. Speaking of timers, click, scroll down. Timers don't really matter, but we're going to set it anyway. Countdown timer. Let's do 8 minutes. Anything over 25% is going to start it with a one-time active. And we'll scroll over to next. 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 Sorry. 1 minute, I want a voice call out. At 20 seconds, I want nothing. At 10 seconds, I want a voice countdown. Expiration, I want tone and vibrate with a tone every minute thereafter. Okay. Very good. Throttle cuts on. We don't even need to enter forward programming to actually make this stuff work, but we're going to see what happens if we want to see what's going to go on. Elevator up, elevator down, roll left, roll right, yaw left, yaw right. Everything is working, but that our elevator is not actually hooked up. No, it is hooked up.
It is hooked up.
It is hooked up, so
yes.
we don't even need to worry about that. So we can go ahead and put the canopy on. We'll literally fly this next, but we just got to make sure that our thrust reverse works. So thrust reverse, throttle cuts on, now it's off. Forward thrust. Okay. So I just want to talk about this for a second. Servo setup. That's aux 10, not aux 9. Okay, so I made a mistake. I'm going to throttle cut us back on. I'm going to scroll all the way down to system setup, disconnect RF, scroll down to channel assign. I made a mistake, guys. It was aux 10, I set it. So I'll just go ahead and change this to switch G, and then I'll clear that and inhibit it. My apologies, folks. I didn't mean to confuse you, but I did that. Throttle cuts off, forward thrust, now reverse thrust. What the heck?
That was forward thrust.
That's forward thrust.
thrust.
That's reverse thrust. Okay, good. So now what we need to do is we need to go into the digital switch setup, which is right here, and we'll select switch G. And we know that the forward position is currently reversed, so we want to make that opposite what it is. Throttle cuts now on. So we'll scroll this all the way down to 0 and then beyond to minus 100. That's going to be our forward thrust setting, okay? And then so we don't have a middle ground, which is dangerous, we're going to set this to 100, which is reverse thrust. Okay, and then we're going to set the last one again all the way to plus 100, which is going to be also reverse thrust. So as you pull that thing towards you, it's going to make your stick deliver reverse thrust. Okay, there it is. Okay, so now walking back out, throttle cuts off, forward thrust is forward thrust, then reverse thrust, then reverse thrust. Okay, then forward thrust, throttle cuts on, throttle sticks down, everything's tested. Now, we're gonna lose light here, so I gotta go into forward programming, connecting the super easy setup because this is a safe select, and gyro settings. Or excuse me, you can turn on advanced menus, gyro settings, AS3X settings, AS3X gains. You can see what the values are, but there's no flight mode change. Why? Because we haven't actually set the flight mode, so do it in safe setup. Aux 7, don't know why that's the default. I'm going to change it to whatever D was. D was what?
I'm not sure what channel it was.
Look, it looks like we're on aux 8. No. It's not flaps.
Is it just flight mode?
Oh yeah, scroll all the way to the left. No, you have to tell it what channel it's on. Well, obviously it's not aux 16. So I just need to find out, and then, so scroll over to monitor, and look what changes. Nothing is changing. So why is it not changing? Okay, so gyro settings, AS3X settings, whoops, excuse me, safe settings. So aux 9, flap, gear, inhibit. Safe select on. Now it's on. Now I'm going to exercise the switch. It doesn't seem to like that. So I'm going to find out what aux to set it to. Okay, so we're going to walk out. Then we'll go to system setup, disconnect RF, scroll down to channel assign. And you can see that we don't have any assignment. So whatever, I'll just pick an unpluggable and just make an assignment to either switch D, or I can make an assignment all the way to F mode, okay? So that's on aux 7, okay? So now there's a tie to both, but I'll show you what we're gonna have to do now. So once this loads forward programming, we'll go to gyro settings, save select. It's on aux 7, so you can see now it says 1, 2, and 3. Sweet. Okay, so now we want safe and AS3X on in this setting. So it's now on, and it looks like this happens to be off. This, I want to turn it off because then they're both off. And then this is safe on. So it's just reverse of what we have. So all I need to do now is just go back to this servo setup, travel, and reverse aux 7, okay? So now, when I click, I can scroll back into forward programming just to demonstrate. Gyro settings, safe select. Okay, so aux 7. Does that make sense? She's saying the things that are true. Okay, very good. Now, you know what's nice about that? Check this out. Look, you can see it right there. AS3X, off or safe. So when you hand this controller to somebody else, they don't have to ask you, hey, am I in safe? You'll know. How do you test safe? Put it in safe, make sure your throttle cut's working. It is tested. Flip the plane upside down on its back. Look at the ailerons. Yep. Okay, look at the elevator. See the elevator pointed up at the sky, trying to bring it level. Now pointed up at the sky, you see the elevator trying to bring it level. Very good. That's going to also have braking because we turn that on to help prepare the motor to go into thrust reverse. So all the surfaces are moving in the right directions. Now off, throttle cuts off, over 25% throttle. Throttle cuts now on and tested. Now AS3X is active and nothing. Good. AS3X, I can't hear it. So that means it's not active. Maybe I didn't do it long enough. Throttle cuts off. Woo. Throttle cuts on, okay? Now it's working. Yep. See the rudder? Moves that way, moves that way, moves that way. Elevator up, elevator down. Aileron up, aileron down. Can you see it? Mm-hmm. Aileron up, aileron down. If one works, the other should, but we still look at both. Throttle cut is on, it is tested. Aileron up, aileron down. Elevator up, elevator down. Rudder left, rudder right. Okay, all the controls are working, and we're gonna go fly this thing. The center of gravity is gonna be marked, and if you wanna find that, yes, we'll go ahead and mark it, but we're gonna lose light, hun.
Yep.
So the center of gravity is gonna be marked.
75 to 90.
75 to 90 it is.
Yep, says 85, range of 75 to 90.
Okay, so 75 to 90 is what we're marking. So 75 to 90 from this flat portion. So 75 to 90. Folks, thanks for watching our video here on Brian Phillips RC. There is one mark and one mark, then 90.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll just walk this down. Here on Brian Phillips RC, we take this stuff pretty seriously. We want to give you guys a crack at success. We want you to take a chance on yourself. We'll help get you there. If you need help, don't be ashamed. Ask for it. Get it. It's right here on Brian Phillips RC. This is probably one of our shortest unbox build radio setups. It is customary for us to try to get things done quickly, even though it takes hours. And we appreciate your patience as we work through these processes, okay? We're not gonna switch batteries. We're gonna fly it on 3200 4S right now, but I'm gonna check the CG. Fingers right in the middle of the range, which is huge. And it's just where it needs to be, okay? Yep. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. Unbox build radio setup for the AT-6 Texan 1.5 V2. If you guys wanna support the channel, buy them from the links in the video description below. Smash the like button, click the bell for notifications so you can be notified of all the new content, or head over to brianphillipsrc.com and find a competitive offering or another offering that you like better, and you can compare and contrast. If you want to buy them, we have links there. You can also buy them from the links in the video description of that particular video when it takes you to the playlist. Alternatively, if you don't want to support us that way, but you still want to throw some support our way, we have Patreon for monthly support, YouTube members for monthly support, YouTube super thanks for one-time donations, as well as PayPal if you don't want to be part of those clubs. Any are appreciated, but at the end of the day, we just want you in the air, and we're going to keep doing it. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.